Welcome to Compliance Chronicles, where we learn from professionals shaping the world of compliance. I'm your host, Lisa Thomas, outside privacy and compliance counsel, an adjunct professor at Northwestern Law School, and a lifelong learner of organizational change. From personal journeys to hard-earned lessons, these are the chronicles that inspire and guide. Let's dive in. How did compliance and legal compliance come to be one of the things in your sort of bucket of things that you were worried about and responsible for and dealing with?
When I joined Faith about 7 years ago, we were solely an electrical contractor. Compliance, well, not always the easiest on the construction side, was relatively known. We had been doing that for about 50 years. Within the last 5 or so years, we've entered our energy business. And so when I moved into my role, the business was net new, right? We were expanding into new markets as a product OEM or as a manufacturer into spaces we just hadn't been in before.
What are some of the things that you worry about or that keep you up at night, or like particular challenges that you're thinking about or facing?
First is, again, as our business continues to expand, again, we're rapidly growing, 30 to 40% CAGR. Data center market is expanding. Renewable energy market is fairly new. The unknowns that are out there in terms of compliance and what might change tomorrow that we're not tracking, there are still unknowns, but I think relying on solid legal partners in multiple areas is really helpful. New regulations seem to be popping up a lot, and that's just the U.S. market, and it's a lot to consider.
You've been at your company for over 7 years. Anything either from your company or over the course of your career journey where you would say, here are some key lessons that I've taken away, especially in obviously the compliance space for managing and dealing with these unknowns?
Ensuring compliance is a focus upfront is the most helpful thing that we've done. It gets everyone focused on it from the beginning. When we're building our business processes, specifically, for example, around product development, depending on what markets we enter, we may trigger a number of compliance obligations, in utility or data center spaces. And I think getting focused on those compliance obligations up front, whether it be CCPA, GDPR, something like NERC, SIP, PCI standards, whatever they are, and decomposing the requirements related to that compliance obligation early on and ensuring we've got the process in place to support products or services in new markets has been really helpful. And, that goes as far back as even new market identification when we're setting business strategy and talking about what processes, tools, talent we might need going forward. It's been really helpful for us. For us, in my specific experience, solid market identification upfront is really critical. Even defining basic things like who are my target customer? Am I selling B2B or B2C? What states am I selling in? What countries? Where might I sell? What product variations may I have that could trigger additional compliance obligation? I think that's really helpful. It's going to set the tone going forward as to what focus areas you need to consider. Is there something that you do with the business teams to get them to think about, like, well, what about this? And what about that? Have you thought about this? Is there like a brainstorming session, or like, how do you make that happen? My best advice is, focus sessions tend to work really well. We'll pull folks in, we'll have them bring all of their market data and strategy and all of the kind of the ideas we have. We'll just unpack it all. We'll whiteboard it, right? And we'll ask tough questions like, hey, you're not selling in the US today. What would it look like if you went and sold in the EU? And we'll try to lead folks to lead folks to build out, I'll say their target market with kind of the end in mind. Any final parting advice that you would give, thinking back on your compliance journey in this conversation, that you would share with others as they are moving forward with or looking for some encouragement in their implementation of compliance in their organization? Yeah, so I think, within a given organization, my opinion is compliance is not just for legal folks, it's everyone's job. So engineers, business leaders, IT specialists, whomever, need to design systems that protect data or that we can ensure are compliant from the ground up. They need to help with process. They need to do things like encrypt data in transit or secure transactions, right? Sales teams need to understand the limits of what they can and cannot collect, and that gets more complex as you move from B2B to B2C. But generally, what I've found is, assuming you've got a strong change management program, people are generally very willing to help. So I think that's a positive. And ingraining compliance as a behavior cross functionally throughout an organization is really important, and I think it can be done. So that's positive. I'll say the other item I would leave folks with is get the right help. So if you can get a dedicated compliance individual or team, chief compliance officer, data protection officer, whatever you want to call them, bring them in and get them help. Lean on legal experts who understand your industry, potentially your product and your customer personas. And I think for us, having advisors who understand energy, specifically in some of the target markets we're entering, has been really helpful. And there are people out there that are well equipped to help. Again, I don't think most companies are the first to go through this. It's very complex. At the same time, there's help available, so don't be afraid to reach out. Assign someone as a point person, get your organization trained, and bring in the right help, and it makes it manageable.
All right, Derek, you've said it. Like, it's change management and getting the right people on board. So thank you, and thank you for making time to have this conversation and to share your expertise.
Yeah, thanks, Lisa.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Compliance Chronicles, where we look for guidance and inspiration from the personal journeys of compliance professionals.